So there's a thought out there that housing prices could fall 30%. And as a real estate agent, as somebody that actually is in the market out there right now, seeing a lot of weird stuff, there's some things I want to talk about. And in this video, I want to talk about where across the country you might see that type of drop in housing prices. Will you be one of those? Will your area be one of those? Well, we're going to talk about that in this video. If you stick around, I'm going to talk about where we're at, where we're going, and maybe how you can navigate the real estate market in 2023, because I've seen a lot of weird stuff. I've talked about it on this channel, things that doesn't make any sense. And the Fed is really driving this market right now. It's literally everything. So we're going to break it down. I'm going to dissect it into as many pieces as I possibly can and tell you what I think as somebody that's been in the real estate world for a while, buying, selling, flipping, and selling on the sales side. And if you're trying to make that decision whether to buy or sell, well, here we go. Let's talk about it. From the hip, here we go. I got my coffee. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you know I have talked about home builders being overloaded, liquidating their portfolios, offering 20, 30, 40,000, even up to 100,000 off on some of these properties, begging people to sell them. I know builders here in Pensacola right now that are begging to get stuff off their books, and they can't figure out if they want to build more. But if they're builders and they don't build, then they don't have a job. I have seen mortgage brokers lose their job in the middle of deals. I've seen mortgage brokers just disappear, like whole offices just disappear. So this entire market is absolutely crazy. I've talked about it at length. And recently we just had another Fed hike, 0.25. You know what that means? It means houses just got worth less and money just got harder to get. Every time I try to explain this to somebody, is every 1 point up in interest rate, I like to say, is 10% off a housing, 10% off a house's price. See, here's the thing. When I say a 1 point in interest rate rise is 10% in a home prices, in a home's value price overall, well, that's theoretical, because we've never seen it in recent times. Interest rates going from 2 and some change to 7% this quick and then short amount of time. We went from, we were seeing mortgages in the twos, like late twos, and now we're seeing them at 7% or 6.25, 6.5. We might see them at 7.5. That's wild. Like, we're in uncharted territory with some of this stuff. And these economists, they have no idea. Most of these economists never sold a house, never bought a house. They're just dudes that's straight out of academia. It's all theoretical. So we're in uncharted territories. Okay, that's just like the rule of thumb. That's kind of how we look at the market as a real estate agent or as a mortgage broker or anybody who's trying to buy or sell. So we have seen the Fed raise 0.75, 0.75, 0.75, 0.5, now 0.25. And we have seen them raise it to a level, I think we're at 4.75 Fed rate. So we'll put mortgages somewhere around 6 to 7%. I think if you got pretty credit, you're going to be in the 7-ishes. And if we go up again, we could see 8s. Okay, so there was a rule of thumb that 10% you're not going to catch. I have some mortgages that I did on some of the properties that I bought and then owner financed at 8, and that is a hefty amount of interest to pay. So we have to ask ourselves in this entire scenario is, at what point does the mortgage get too hard to pay for the normal person with their debt to income? We're talking about house affordability. Reventure Consulting did a really good video on this scenario from his point of view. I wanted to elaborate on it from as a real estate agent's point of view. So go check it out if you want to. He's got a great channel. Does a lot of really good market collapsing videos, because this is all fishy. There's so much fishiness going on in the market right now. Some of it just doesn't add up, and there's a lot of just froth in the market. As you can see on this chart right here, payment to income ratio is out of control. It's literally going off the page, and houses or families want to get in the house, and the payment is just too much. We're at that line where we don't know if we want to rent, because that's expensive and it's money down the drain. But also the ability to own is really expensive too, because not only do you have the mortgage payment, you have insurance, taxes, and maintenance. So I believe that here in Florida, if you cannot pass a 4-point with a property, the insurance is going to make the house unaffordable for most people, making older houses almost to the point where they're going to be worth less and less price per square foot because of how much it costs to own them. But if you look at the Case-Shiller price index, you can see we're kind of coming over that hump. We're starting to see prices coming down, and that's mostly because of the Fed. The Fed has been raising rates, and the sole point is to cool the housing market off and make people unemployed, because they want to kind of do a soft land and launch us into a recession. And the idea of a recession is to cool some of these prices off. Housing is the backbone of America, period. If housing goes, so does the American economy. And if they can slow crash, like just a small pullback by raising rates, and now the last interest rate was a lot softer, they basically said they're going to keep raising rates and holding them there until really something breaks. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. If something breaks, what happens to all this and everything changes. So the Fed is really trying to break the market, but just by like shattering the glass a little bit. There was a really crazy Fortune magazine article out there talking about a 15% crash. But I think where we're really lying is a lot of people are trying to say we're going to go from where we were with hyperinflation, with property values going through the roof, back down to where they were. I do not think we'll ever go back to where they were. That was inflation. It's what happens when the government prints a bunch of money, Federal Reserve, however you want to explain it out in the window of this video. It's what happens when we pump a bunch of money supply into the system. We have a really bad supply constraint. We have a war and have a lot of weird stuff going on. So things became more expensive. And the Fed is trying to basically fix that through quantitative tightening, taking money back, and then by raising interest rates. But the fear is that they'll overdo it. So how would we see negative 30% in the housing market? I think we could see them in these cities, right here, I'm gonna put them right here, San Francisco, LA, places like that, where we saw a massive run up. And if we see massive unemployment happen, we're starting to see a lot of tech companies already lay people off. We're starting to see, I think Goldman Sachs is laying people off, of all people. The banks are starting to lay people off. When we start seeing some of these big factories laying people off, we'll know we're getting closer. So in these really big cities where the industry could be gravely affected and housing prices are way, 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 way inflated, we could start to see foreclosure. We could start seeing a lot of these properties start to lose a lot of value. Now, I say that because it is going to take a long time for this to happen. The wheels of real estate, they turn very slowly. If you look at any of the data, it comes out very slowly. I mean, quarterly, monthly, it's lagging. And if you've ever looked at the NAR or any of these real estate agent related sites, a lot of the info is very diluted and very political. And you got to look at it like that, and you got to understand you're not seeing the whole picture. I've said many a times Goldman Sachs was predicting 10 to 15%. Some of them are doing 5 to 10%. But you got to say, are we going from crest to trough, or where are we actually computing this from? Are we going from where they were in 2021 to where they are in 2023 and back? Or 2022 and back? Like, how are we computing this? So these are the things that we have to really question on, are we going to see that big of a pullback? But I want to be honest, we're still selling houses here. People are still buying houses. Has it slowed down? Yes. Are things staying on the market longer? Yes. But people are still buying. People still have to move to the good neighborhood for their kid to go to school. They still transfer here for work. We get a lot of military here, so we still got people moving. I hate it for the guys, service members. I remember being there as a service member myself, that you got to give up your 2% interest rate for your 6.5% interest rate. That's unfortunate, and it's a bad part about being in the military when you have to move a lot, that you might lose your good interest rate. We don't think about those type of things, but those are real problems that I remember that issue with a lot of my buddies when I was in the Army. You know, it's a bad situation if you're doing it and you're constantly moving all the time. Okay, so here's the perfect storm. We have mortgage rates going through the roof, okay? We have home builders that are liquidating their portfolios. Now, are they going to stop building or are they going to keep building? I don't think they'll keep building. A lot of them here are already stopping, holding their horses, okay? Now, they got to dump those properties. Now, how are those dumping of those properties going to hurt future comps? That's going to be interesting. See, I don't think you can hit these markets with broad strokes of data. That's why AI buying and you know, Zillow and all these automated iBuyers failed, is because every house is different, every market is different, and there's always something in the market or in that market that may make it different. And ultimately, a house is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. No matter how you comp it or how you talk about comps change with the market as it changes. That's why you got to keep your window of comps really tight. And that being said, it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay. And as money gets more expensive, interest rates go up, and houses are harder to close because of their age or the problems with them or insurance stipulations or anything like that, or if mortgage lenders decide to make those mortgages harder to get for some reason, maybe whether it's because of something on the house or because of some type of lending issue, that is going to make that market or those comps change, because it's now harder to purchase those properties. We know the economy is on the verge of recession. We already are in recession. If you look at the price of things at the supermarket, things in Lowe's, building supplies, across the board, the CPI index, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, is fixed. It's great for politicians to beat their chest, but it's really not practical for the everyday person. Because if you're paying more at the grocery store, or you're paying more at the main things you gotta buy in real estate, the amount of money you're expending every month is more, and you still have to pay your mortgage and your insurance and your taxes. It is tough on families. That being said, if we see in the spring and into the fall more houses come on the market, meaning more supply, and demand is driven down because of the Fed, and the Fed keeps rates high and they keep them there and they keep raising them, and we get 2 more rate rises. Let's say we get at least another 0.5, maybe a 0.25 and a 0.25, or another half point. That's going to bring down the market at least another 5%, probably 5 to 10%. And then we're going to be looking at, hey, we're already down 10%. We're getting to that 20-something% mark. It could happen. And if something breaks, we see a major home builder break. We see a major bank break. We see somebody that got caught skinny dipping with the tide going out. We could see some type of crash. If we see the stock market take another 20% off, okay? We saw it was down almost 30% there for a while, year to date. If it goes down to those levels, or another 10 to 15% down, which some guys are saying, if you look at Garrett Soloway, he thinks we're going to go down another 25% from where we were, 3,000 in the S&P, 3,500, somewhere in there. And that's where I'm looking to start buying on my portfolio. Not an advisor. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to start looking for properties to pick up at that moment, because I know we're at max pain. I've said max pain is going to be middle part of this year. And then if we ever see the Fed balk and start backpedaling the interest rates, we know the reins are about to get let loose, and that's when the market is going to shift. I think the beginning of next year, we're going to start maybe pulling out of this. But like I said, the wheels of real estate take a long time to change, okay? And that is, you're going to see, especially markets that are behind the curve, like you'll probably see a change in LA, New York, Philadelphia, Austin, Miami, Tampa. You'll see those change before places like Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach, Orange Beach, Foley, Montgomery, those will be behind the curve. They'll be a lot slower to react. So that's really my thoughts on this. Could we see a negative 30%? Yeah, in some places, the big places where people migrated from, like from LA to Tampa, or LA to Pensacola, or LA to, some of these smaller places. Where they migrated to, I do not see we're going to see that much of a change, okay? Where I do think we'll see some issues in those places are in Florida, where insurance is a problem. Old houses are there and insurance is a problem. Flood insurance is a problem right now. If you've got an older house with an old roof, old plumbing, old electrical, they just will not insure it. And if you're buying with a loan, it is going to be really hard to close the loan with some of these properties. I highly suggest you use a really good real estate agent, somebody who knows what they're talking about when you go into these deals. You got to know about the future problems, insurance, maintenance. You got to know about these things when you go into them, unless you're buying a new build. And if you're buying a new build, make sure you get a home inspection before you close on these bad boys. I got a million horror stories on people that did not do a home inspection before they closed on a new build. It is shocking. I am deathly afraid of buying a new build. Just saying it. And I do this all the time. Okay. So I hope this helped. I hope this makes sense. I see a lot of people out there saber rattling, saying the market's going to go down a lot more. No, we have already seen inflation. A lot of these prices, we're going to see them kind of just stagnate, because it costs more to build a house now. It costs more for Romex, nails, 2x4s. It costs more for shingles. It costs more. The insurance for the workers is more. The workers' comp is more. The attorneys are more. Everybody has had inflation. And until the Fed drives it all the way out of us, back down to 2% inflation, some of these prices are just here. You get what you allow politicians to do. And that's about all I got to say about that. See you guys on the next video. Hope this helped.